Price never cleared above and closed above that cluster symmetry resistance. So right here should have been your entry to short, but you're still setting your stop above that cluster resistance, just in case that it goes against you, take your stop loss. But now that it has gone down to the downside, what you can do, you can start to use that 34 moving average as your stop. You can start to move that pivot high stop, start to move it down to lock in these profits, right? So whatever you do, you still got to position size properly and kind of take it step by step. But that's how we identify potential resistance, potential setups in a chart. Now, I want to flip back over to Bitcoin to see if I can find something similar along these lines. Now, we're just seeing a lot of resistance, seeing a lot of downside correction. If you're looking at this chart, you can see that this is established a series of lower highs and also lower lows. This is a new recent pivot low. Backing out on the daily chart, I'm just don't seeing a lot of strength that is coming through. What we can do, we want to take a quick look at this bigger pullback in comparison to this pullback right here. What I'm going to do, I'm going to remove these drawings. And from here, I'm going to start to map out. First, I'm going to draw it out. Okay, so that pivot high to pivot low, that swing high to swing low, and I'm going to see where some potential support that could step in along the way. And the way that I do that is simply doing my symmetry support, and how it works is simply, if I were to clone one of these trend lines that I just drew, I'm going to reproject it to this area over here. That's how symmetry support works. It's not rocket science. All I'm doing is, can this pattern or pullback repeat itself on a chart over and over? Okay? So when I make my symmetry support, when I make that pivot high, pivot low, pivot high, like I do every single day, this is 100% move to the downside. Let's take a quick look at my settings right here. Right? So the only one I have selected is 1. This is exactly the same dollar amount pullback from that pivot high to pivot low, reprojected to this new recent high. So that will bring us right back down to 32,800 and some change. Okay, so that's what we're looking at when we're looking at Bitcoin. I'm not exactly saying this is definitely going to happen, but that's a potential play. Right? I'm going to clone it one more time so we can see. So I'm reprojecting. And if I were to do this pull with my Fib extensions, clicking from that pivot high, pivot low, pivot high, you can see it's landing right around the same area. Patterns, they could play themselves over and over again on a chart. On a small time frame, large time frame, doesn't always happen, but this is how we look at the charts. We're looking for repeatable patterns that may repeat themselves. Past behavior, it's a great indicator of future performance. Okay, and that's how we find setups day in and day out. If it starts to fulfill our criteria, how we're looking for these pullbacks, we want a 3-price relationship. And from there, since we're trend followers, we need a trigger on the 15-minute time frame to really confirm that strength or weakness. And that's how we go from decision to decision. So that's what we have for Bitcoin. Let's take a quick look at Harmony on the daily chart. So over here, this is a very good example for us to go through of an example, a setup that did not play out the way that we wanted to. So you can see right here, we had some pullbacks that are very similar in dollar amount. Okay, and we reprojected to this new recent high. I was looking to see if this 30-cent area can hold. Price coming back in here. From here, gives me a trigger on the 15-minute time frame to go long. Since price broke through this potential area of support, there's nothing for me to do. Do not do anything with this chart. And that's how we make that decision, because it did not follow the pattern that it established previous. Okay, so there's more selling pressure than buying pressure at that level. So we don't do anything with this chart. Another chart that I was looking at pretty intensely was Oasis Network. Okay, on this chart, I was looking to see if this area could hold right around the 45-cent area and some change. And you can see that now we have more selling pressure coming through and price broke through that 3 price relationship. When this happens, do not do anything with this chart. We have to look for a deeper pullback. You don't just want to come in here and start buying things flippantly because you want to buy it. You have to buy because to be in alignment with your plan. So these smaller pullbacks are not applicable anymore, but I'm looking to look for these deeper pullbacks like this. I'm going through roast right now. Hey, what's going on? Fellow craft. That's perfect. Okay. You're gonna like what I'm gonna be saying. So we got, let me go back. Okay, this is great. So I'm gonna do a couple control Z's. Now, if you follow my video, I had a planned 3 price relationship right around 45 cents, 44 cents. This one did not hold, simply because you can see price came down and broke through that 𝗪𝗔𝗍 support. So I am not buying here at this level. I am not adding to my position simply because it did not follow through on my rules. Okay, so it had this pullback right here, this pullback, and also this pullback. They were very similar dollar amount. I was hoping to see if this pattern would repeat itself, but right now we got more selling pressure than buying pressure. I'm not buying this, but I'm going to clear this slate. All right, I'm looking for a deeper pullback. What I'm going to do, I'm going to start to measure some of these deeper pullbacks. So there are smaller pullbacks, swings within swings, okay, we got to look at. And these are smaller swings, but we also got to see from a bigger picture other patterns that has established itself on this chart in the history. So over here, I can have a deeper pullback, pivot high to pivot low. So we got 3 different pullbacks. Now I'm going to measure them kind of roughly. It's not going to be exact. But over here, we got a pullback right here. This one about 21 cent. All right, 21 cent pullback. This pullback right here, what do we got? A 24 cent pullback. All right, so I'm going to remove it so it doesn't overlap some of these hover overs. Over here, what is this pullback? A 26 cent pullback. Now, as you look at this chart, we got some 21 cent pullback, a 24 cent, 26 cent pullback. We may have a deeper pullback from this new recent pivot high. So that's what I'm going to start to map out. I'm going to start to click from that pivot high, pivot low, pivot high. Since this pullback right here did not adhere to this pullback and other smaller pullbacks that I had outlined previously, what I'm going to do, I'm going to look for a deeper pullback, looking for that potential next set of pullbacks. So I'm going to start to map them out. Pivot high, pivot low, pivot high. And over here, this swing back here, pivot high, pivot low, pivot high. Okay, so over here we may have a cluster. This is not a really tight cluster. It's not something I really like. I like to see something tighter than that. But what we got here, there may be some potential support between 33 cents and 38 cents. Okay, it's going to be about 5-6 cents difference. I mean, these swings are still very, very similar in dollar amount. I mean, there's just a few pennies apart. We're still dealing with a product that is trading less than $1. What I'm going to do next is do some Fib retracements, clicking from that pivot low to pivot high, to see if I can find some retracement areas that's going to overlap with my 𝗪𝗔𝗍 support. Okay, so that's what I'm going to look for. I'm going to do more analysis on this chart to find a tighter cluster, and from here, I'm going to do the same thing. Going to find that 3 price relationship. From here, price must start to pivot because we are a trend follower, so not going to just start to buy just because it's in my pocket a potential support. Price must start to turn, okay, in my favor, in the direction that I wanted to. And the way I make my decision to buy is on that 15-minute time frame, where that 8 moving average cross it against that 34 moving average to the upside. Now, without that in place, there's nothing for me to do on a chart. Now, let's just review that Ethereum real quick. It hit all my criteria, but this one's just a little bit more tricky simply because we're shorting this, we're not going long on this product. Okay, so over here, I'm going to jump back down on the hourly chart. And on this one, our 3 price relationship was right here. 32.59, 32.60, right around this area, and price never closed above that cluster. Okay, patience is key, absolutely. Yeah, a lot of people That's the thing. Most of the time, you will be very successful in this business just by staying out of the markets. Don't do nothing, okay, until it starts to fulfill all your criteria. You got a trading plan, you got a clarity on that trading plan. You got to commit to that trading plan with a correct position sizing, simply because if I shorted this and I shorted too big of a position, right, and I'm going to be stressed. Instead of doing that, just position size correctly, knowing that, hey, if it starts going against me, I'm taking my stop loss and move on to another chart. Doesn't matter. But if it starts to move in your favor, now you can start to ratchet down your stop. So right here on the 15-minute time frame, our trigger to go short with this chart was right there. That 8 moving average, cross it against that 34 to the downside. And now if you had your stop above that cluster symmetry resistance, now you can start to ratchet down. Move that stop down against that 34 moving average on the 15-minute time frame. Or another time frame that you're more familiar with, that you're comfortable with, however you want to do it. But you're just locking in these profits to the downside. So, any other charts you want me to review? Any other symbols? I can also go over US equities. See, Avalanche isn't looking that great either. Should be stopped out. Matic, I think I did a chart with this as well. This one's also not looking that hot, even though it's still trading above that 200 moving average on the daily chart. But you got to see, with this a lot of selling pressure coming through, a lot of these guys going to be trading below that 200 moving average on the hourly chart. So there's going to be, I like to find charts if I'm going long that are price trading above that 200 on both the daily and hourly chart. That's why I stress the importance of, hey, if you want to go long, if you want to go with Rose and you want to go long with Harmony, we got a pocket of potential support, but you got to make sure that price gets up above that 200 moving average on the hourly chart once more. Otherwise, don't deal with it. Okay. So what do we got here? Luna. Luna is also trading below that 200. It got up temporarily. H-bar. All right, let's go through it. I haven't looked at a chart for quite some time, so. All right, right now it's trading at 25 cents. Let's jump back out on the daily chart. Over here. Okay, so as you can see right here, we got to be very objective. Objectivity is the key. Where's price currently trading at? It's trading below that 200 moving average, right? So over here, I want to measure some pullbacks. The first thing that set out for me is, okay, I'm looking at this bigger pullback right here. And I also have a pullback from that pivot high to pivot low. How does it compare this pullback and also this pullback? What I can do, I can duplicate this, clone it. I just clone this real quick. I'm going to clone that trend line. Over here, I'm going to reproject it to that new recent high. So what does this tell me right now? We had a pullback over here, but over here, price is trading below this area right here. So we got more selling pressure coming through here than one over here. So that's, we have to be very objective and see that comparing this pullback over here and this pullback, what we're dealing with here, this is more selling pressure than buying pressure. What else this chart has against them? We got trading below that 1 hour, trading below the daily chart, also the hourly chart. You can see price tried to struggle against that 200 moving average, was not able to recapture that 200 moving average on the hourly chart, start to sell off, right? So we have to be very clear about charts like this. Now, what can we do with a chart like this? Potentially short it. You know, now if you're just hodling, you're just hodling. But I think there may be some opportunity for shorts if you want to short it. And we're looking for smaller pullbacks. How I look at a chart like this, it's kind of like what I'm dealing with Ethereum. Ethereum is trading below that 200 moving average on the daily and hourly chart. I'm looking for a pullback back against that 200 moving average, either on the hourly chart. But you can see right here, these two moving averages, that 200 moving average on the hourly chart right here is at 27 cents. Now I'm going to flip back out on the daily chart. Where's the 200 moving average on the daily chart? 30 cents. Okay, so they're not too far off from one another. Got a 27-cent 200 moving average on the hourly chart. On the daily chart, about a 30-cent. Okay, so on the way back up, this guy has to deal with a lot of resistance. Now, if we're going to see more selling pressure coming through, we're going to find a 3 price relationship. I'm not saying this is exactly what's going to happen, but we got to just follow through on our trading plan day in and day out, right? So let's see what I can do with something that's on a chart like this. So over here, I got a small little pullback right here. Pivot low, pivot high, pivot low. Okay. What else do we have here? We do have another one over here, but I've been doing this for so long. That's the problem. You can see that these are two not going to be matching up as nicely. It's not going to match up as nicely as Ethereum because I like to see patterns that repeat themselves over and over again, and that only gives me a single price relationship. But I'm going to do a quick pull from here. Got that 50% retracement. Okay. I like to find charts that are clean. Over here, it's just not super clean where I want it to be. And it's not really matching up with that 200 moving average on the hourly chart. So for something like this, I'm going to let it go. I like to have it slide down even further, sell off even further, and find the next set of pullbacks against that 200 moving average on the hourly chart. Or this guy, as it trades farther down to the downside, then this 200 moving average is going to curl over as well, right? So nothing to do on this chart until I see what I like. Anything else? See all these guys selling off, selling off. Yeah, no problem, man. Yeah, I like to do more of these lives. And, I think there might be some potential opportunities in gold and silver this year. So let's talk about this real quick. With gold, we've been sideways consolidating for quite some time. You see the sideways consolidation. We're getting up above that 200 moving average on the daily chart. There's just a lot of pressure been building up with this. If we keep on printing, like it's always done, I think that finally we might get some big breaks to the upside with gold and silver. We don't know what's going to happen. I had a 3 price relationship set up right around this 21 area. It has not broken through. It has not closed below here for silver. And these pullbacks are... So let's see if we can get up above here and start to establish a series of higher highs and higher lows. Let's go over the broad markets real quick. Over here, S&P futures, over here. Being held up by that 200 moving average on the daily chart. Okay, so this is going to be significant. Let's see if we continue to hold against that area. But on the hourly chart, we've been establishing a series of lower highs and lower lows, for weeks now. So we hit that new recent high. So I think we're 2 weeks into this. For how long? So right here, 16 days. 16 days sliding down. Not really recovering that 200 moving average. So every sell-offs first starts on the hourly chart, and it starts to roll over on the daily chart. Let's take a quick look at the Nasdaq. Alright, as you can see, we got to be very objective. Where's price trading at in relation to that 200 moving average on the daily chart? Trading below, right? And that's not something we can just make up. It is what it is. So there's more weakness currently in the Nasdaq. It's already broken through. How am I going to treat Nasdaq? If I wanted to short the NQ, I'm going to do it very similar to Ethereum. Okay, once starts price breaking down below this 200 moving average, I'm looking for a pullback against that 200 moving average on the daily chart, because it's already trading below on both of them. So if I were to make a quick line over here, this is the 200 moving average where it's positioned on the hourly chart. If I flip back over, right, so it's over here on the hourly chart, but it's over here on the daily chart. You're going to be met with that 200 moving average first on the daily chart. So I'm going to deal with that. So I like to get a pullback. What else do we have? Mini Dow. All right. So trading below that 200 moving average in the futures. I'm not saying in the ETF side, but over here, if we can't recover this, we start to establish lower lows, things may get interesting. And with selling off, with a lot of fear, this makes it spill over to the crypto space as well. Russell's been below that 200 for quite a number of sessions already. So the small caps are trading below, and this is definitely lower lows, right? Lower highs and lower lows. So you can actually draw a channel if you want. We may continue to struggle against this, because when it comes back up on the hourly chart, what's it got to deal with? It's got to deal with that 200 moving average again on the hourly chart. So over here, let's just say it bounces right back, and now it's up to us to see, all right, if I want to take this to the short side, kind of find a three price relationship against that 200 moving average on the hourly chart, right? But it has to be very precise. And if it's going to give me a trigger on the 15-minute time frame for me to short it, if it doesn't provide me with all these check boxes, there's nothing for me to do on this chart. Because oftentimes we may have a great plan. We have an area cluster of resistance right around that 2135 area, whatever, but for whatever reason, price doesn't do what it wanted to do. It starts to shoot and break through to the upside, right? So if that happens, just let it go. Find another chart. And that's how we go from decision to decision. I want to spin through some bigger names. All right, Amazon, what do we have? Daily chart. See, this is the reason why Nasdaq's been pulled down. See, over here, I just wasn't able to find a nice, decent three price relation with Amazon over here. See, over here, that would have been the first price relationship. Yeah, you could have made a case for this. Holy crap. So here's an opportunity that I missed, right? So over here, we got a pivot low to pivot high, move to the upside. Over here, that's another move. This move right here, $211. Over here, $212. Over here, we got a pullback $211. Can you guys see this? Holy crap. All right, we talked about, I'll go over harmony in a bit. I just want to talk about this pattern. I want you guys to look at the chart, like the way how I look at charts, which is consistency. Over here, this pullback, $211.30. We're looking at the fourth number on the hover over. Over here, 212. Okay? Over here, 211 before it starts to sell off again. Patterns, they potentially repeat themselves over and over on a chart. Don't look at it like religion. I'm just saying sometimes past behavior is a great indicator of future performance, right? So that's what we start to map out our symmetry resistance. In addition, what could we do? This is a little bit of back testing. Shit, right there. Fuck, man. We got that three price relationship, a 50% retracement right there. And I missed it. And I mean, here's the thing. You don't have to catch every move, but you want to do a back testing. You want to see a chart has specific patterns, right? Now, when it retraces, is it a dollar amount? Is it a retracement amount? On the hourly chart, what do we have over here? At that point, it was also trading below that 200 moving average on the hourly chart. So there's more selling pressure coming through on this chart. And over here, it starts to go in our favor, right? Now, the way that we go short on this chart, looking at that 15-minute time frame. So this is a 15-minute chart. That 8 moving average cross against that 34 to the downside. So whatever you do, you're position sizing in here correctly. Now you can buy a put option if that's too expensive, do a call credit spread, but whatever you do, you're still setting your stop above this cluster. Just in case this chart goes against you, let's just say if you're short, right? And then bam, it starts to go against your position, take your stop loss, move on to another chart. And now if you're in this chart, to the short side, they're using a moving average to ratchet down your profits. Okay, so let's go through Harmony real quick. Did I talk about Harmony? All right, so with Harmony, right here, right now I am not dealing with this chart simply because I had a plan, symmetry support, right around that 30-cent area. That 30-cent area did not hold. So now I got to look for a deeper pullback from the history of this chart. Okay, so I'm going to clear out this board, and deeper pullbacks, you guys got to look at the chart for what it is. You got deeper pullbacks like this, right? Got deeper pullbacks like this, deeper pullbacks like this. Okay, just look at the history of this chart. What else do we have over here? Got another deeper pullback from that pivot high to pivot low. I'm looking for are patterns that may potentially repeat themselves. Okay. So since that potential short little pullback did not play through, if I want to find a long setup, it's going to be a deeper pullback. I'm going to measure these real quick. So these are not going to be exact. 17 cent. Okay, 15 cent. This one's right about 11 cent. 14 cent. $0.15. I like that 14 cent, 15 cent area. I'm going to start to map some of these guys out. Okay, so pivot high, pivot low, pivot high. Once it starts to break through your intermediary potential support, you're looking for a deeper pullback. Because what the charts are going to do, okay, going to map this one out as well. I think this is a deeper pullback. Yeah, much deeper. How about this one over here? Okay, these are closer. Okay. Over here, I'm going to do a Fib poll to see if I can get anything to match. Not really getting anything. So this is where you guys got to do the work. Okay. So over here, I have a potential pocket of support right around 22 cent. From here, looking to see how price enters in this area, but I cannot have price breaking through. If it breaks through, this area is bust too. So that means there's more selling pressure than buying pressure. I need price coming in here gracefully. From here, I need that trigger on the 15-minute time frame to bounce out. And if that gives me a 15-minute trigger, then I can add to more of my position. But I still got to set my stop below that cluster, right? So you see myself kind of repeating myself every single day. I'm telling you, that's how you become very proficient at this work that you do, because you can't just be making up rules every single day, looking at it different ways. And if you're going to stick with a specific trading plan, then you stick with it. You don't want to mix and match something from over here, something from over there, because that's going to mess up your game. Okay, you're going to be very, very confused. Success is very boring. I want to tell you guys, the way how I look at people become very successful, they have to do very boring things every single day. They repeat themselves every single day. You look at a successful restaurant, a successful chain, okay? Think about that restaurant owner. They have to go in every single day to make that stock, make that chicken, to make the same taste every single day, because the customers, they expect that day in and day out. They're not going to go in there and be like, oh, I'm going to start to be creative, going to start to mix and match. Well, I looked at that food channel last night, the Food Network, this chef did this, that chef did that. I'm going to incorporate that. No, your customers are going to leave because the customer there previous, especially if it's a chain restaurant, they're going to do the same thing every single time. It doesn't matter if you go to from this one city, this one restaurant, go to another restaurant, they're all going to taste the same every single time because the customers expect it. You have to look at your trading business the same way. You got to have clarity, you got to have a commitment, you got to have composure along the way. You know, I think waking up in the morning, me exercising, getting out for a run, you know, doing all my stretches, doing some weightlifting, it's so part of the routine. You don't just start to turn on this computer before start getting this mind right, right? Because there's so many voices they're pulling at you. These voices, these headlines, every single word, these channels, Discord servers, whatever. But at the end of the day, you have to look at the markets objectively. You got to have a trading plan in place, and you have to follow through every step of the way. And just like that restaurant owner, they don't just start to make things up along the way. So, oh, my friends are buying, so I have to buy it too. No, you don't have to do shit, okay? What you gotta do is you gotta follow through on your trading plan. Over here, we can see that Harmony is trading below that 200 moving average. So what we gotta have is that pullback into this three price relationship. And I like it where it just gets out of here. I like to climb up above that 200 moving average before I have to make a decision. And since Harmony is trading below $1, you can position size here correctly, right? You don't have to put your whole eggs in one basket. And you're like, I'm going to go in with a comfortable amount. I'm going to follow through just in case this chart goes against me, even though I had a trigger on the 15-minute time frame. Goes against me, take my stop loss, move on to another chart. Look for the next set of three price relationship, whether if you're going long or going short, right? And develop that consistency day in and day out. So I would just say that the best way to about this business is take small chunks out of this market day in and day out. You know, be consistent. And most of the time, you have a plan to play out your way. Don't do nothing. Don't do nothing. Yeah, no problem, John Jones. I see y'all. So somebody typed in rent. Rent or rant? Is rent actually a symbol? Is it what we're talking about over here? Rentable? Is this something that you guys are looking at? I haven't taken a look at this at all. So you just don't know, you know. So all right, Polkadot. See, we got some weakness coming through in the markets. So trading below that 200 moving average. And we've got to be very objective. This guy printed another lower low, right? So there's more selling pressure than buying pressure. So this is another thing that you could do with Polkadot. You're like, I like to find a three price relationship, a pullback into more resistance for more downside correction. Just like how we found Ethereum to the downside, right? So over here, Ethereum trading below that 200 moving average on the daily chart as well as the hourly chart. And from here, we were looking for more downside correction. And over here, we do have that 50, now this is a 34, not a 50. So 34 moving average. It may close below that 200. It may have that crossover, which may provide additional selling pressure. Yeah. But I'm going to talk about the law of conservation of energy, which is important, you know, because energy is never destroyed, but it can move from one form to another, right? So markets move up, markets move down. There's people making money going up, people making money going down, because it's just at the end of the day, some numbers on the screen. You know, there's markets that flow in and out. So you got to see the markets that way. But if we go about this markets emotionally, you know, then it's going to be very, very messy. You know, my goal every single day, got to be very professional emotionally, looking at these markets objectively and following through on my trading plan. A lot of times I have no entry because it didn't give me that opportunity to trade, and I had to be okay with that, right? So over here, okay, ADA and SOL, all right. All right. Let's go through 𝗏 real quick. What do we have 𝗏 trading at right now? $1.24. But where's the trading in relation to that 200 moving average on the daily chart? It's trading below, right? So that's the first area I look at over here on the hourly chart. It's also trading below. So right now, the last couple of sessions been trading the series of lower highs and lower lows. This chart's kind of been sideways for quite some time. Stepping back out on the daily chart. All right, so if I were to connect some of these lines, okay? I don't really like these speaker phones. You know, I used to look at these chart books, and they said that if you have a pattern like, I never really had a lot of success when charts first developed the speaker phone. You know, I like to find nice moving trending charts either trading nicely above that 200 moving average on both the daily and hourly chart, or start to slide below that 200 moving average on the daily chart with a series of lower highs and lower lows. So this is 𝗏, I just won't touch right now. That's just me, because I just don't particularly like this pattern. So let's look at Solana. Solana on the daily chart. Wow. So it was holding against that 200 moving average, now it's broken through, right? So now some more selling pressure. It's broken through. So below that 200 moving average on the hourly chart as well. So we're going to do a little bit of back testing. What I mean by that is, now if you look back, this area, was I able to find a 3 price relationship against this area right here? Okay, so what I can do, I can use my trend-based Fib extension, click in front of that pivot low, pivot high. I can walk it backwards. I know a lot of people don't do this, but this is what I do. I look at if I can walk this thing backwards and find these pullbacks are very similar in dollar amount, right? So right now, I can't really find on this hourly chart. But I'm going to step back out on a daily. So coming back in here. Yeah, right there, I can't really find that, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to make myself in a note over here. This is where the 200 moving average is on the hourly chart. On the daily, where's my line? Okay, it's very, very close to one another. So we have two moving averages. If I want to take advantage of this chart to the short side, okay, I like to see if I can get some pullbacks right against these 200 moving averages on the daily chart as well as the hourly chart. So if I were to use this pivot low, pivot high, pivot low, it will bring me way above. You see that, guys? It's important for us to see these patterns that I'm looking for. It has to be in sync, okay? And right now, I have another pullback here, but this one is too small. If I were to measure this real quick, it's not going to be matching up with these two moving averages, the 200 moving averages. So right now, what I like to see is actually more sell-off in Solana. If I have more sell-off, I'm going to be able to project it maybe around the 113. Let's just say Solana sells to around 113, okay? The reason why I want it is because I can start to utilize some of these pullbacks. You see how this is a little bit more strategic? So I like to see moves before the move, potential moves before the moves, kind of like chess moves, right? And if I'm not getting what I want at the end of the day, then I'm not participating in it. My view on Bitcoin, so right now, let's just be objective right here, okay? Where's Bitcoin trading at in relation to that daily moving average, 200 moving average? I know there's a lag, but you guys just talk in the chat. Let me know what you guys think. Where is Bitcoin in relation to that 200 moving average on the daily chart? Let me get some water. Shit. Where's everybody coming in from anyway? That's what I'd like to know. All right, I'm not sure how lagged I am. Over here, Bitcoin, trading below that 200 moving average on the daily chart, okay? And right now we are printing a lower low over here. Before you jumped on the call, I was discussing about studying this previous pullback back in the last year around April through June. So we had a pullback over here. This pullback, roughly, this is very rough because this doesn't really snap. This is the 35,700 and some change pullback, okay? So we may repeat this pullback from that new recent pivot high. So this is the reason why I duplicated this particular trend line, reprojected it over here. If we're getting more selling pressure, the first 𝗕𝗶𝗄 support that I have is right around 32,700 and some change, okay? Because this one is a slightly higher high than this one over here. So that's how we had that first 𝗕𝗶𝗄 support, clicking from that pivot high, pivot low, pivot high. So we may have more downside correction to be had with Bitcoin until it starts to show me a lot of strength. It starts to bounce. It has to first recover that 200 moving average on the hourly chart. That's how we find strength. Find some series of higher highs and higher lows. Now on the 15-minute time frame, price is currently trading below that 200 moving average on the 15. And this is how we start to look at these charts over and over. We can see how, first, if you're going to find strength on a chart, it's going to start to establish a series of higher highs and higher lows. First, recovering that 200 moving average on the 15-minute time frame. And then it starts to recover, on these smaller time frames, the 30-minute, the 45-minute. It has to recover that 1 hour 200 moving average. A lot of times, these 1 hours are big bosses. What I mean by that is a lot of resistance parked in that area. A lot of orders to sell. So price may get up to this area, but without enough strength, it's going to fail and more downside correction, right? So right here, there's nothing for me to do simply because I don't have a three-price relationship. Now that I can start to look for it, I like to see if I can find some shorting opportunities. Now this move right here, let's just say price really starts to move, okay? I'm going to start to measure over here. See, it's not really matching up. So if I were to use this piece right here, this pivot low to pivot high, to pivot low over here, it's going to bring me up above that 200 moving average. So whatever you do, you got to find a cluster. You got to find three-price relationship. 3 is the minimum. 3 is, if you have more, the better, right? Because past behavior is a great indicator of future performance. And now let's take a piece over here as well. Look at this move from this pivot low to pivot high, doing this kind of rough over here. So this move right here kind of coincides with that 200 moving average. Now these moves are about $1,000 apart. What I mean by that is, okay, if you look at this move from this move, pivot low to pivot high, 4,700, okay. Over here, this move from this pivot low to pivot high. So this one's around 4,000, so 700 apart. So this is how we study patterns. I know it's very boring, but it's okay. This is how we. You find your trading plan. Other people that have their own trading plans, but this is what I do. I like to study patterns, look at the patterns on this chart. I'm looking at, all right, over here, this pivot low to pivot high, right around $4,000. This pivot low to pivot high, $4,700. Okay, what else can I do? Can I find a Fib retracement that also matches up with this area? Because I like to see if I can find an opportunity to short this guy, right? Because it also coincides with a 200 moving average on the hourly chart. Now, I don't have a three-price just yet, but I'm just saying if I did, I'm looking for price to retrace up to this area, and from here, I'm looking for that area to hold for more downside correction. Just like what we had over here in Ethereum. I'm not sure if you guys looked at my Ethereum. I went through this very meticulously last night, and also a couple hours ago when I went through this. We had a pullback over here, pivot low to pivot high, projected, bam. Over here, pivot low, pivot high, projected, bam. Matching up with that 200 moving average on the hourly chart. Over here, had a trigger to go short. Also, a 618 retracement that coincides, also overlaps with that cluster symmetry resistance. And those are the basis of criteria which I went with Ethereum to go short, right? Now, Bitcoin right now, if you want to short it, because we are seeing more weakness than strength, unless Bitcoin starts to really recover. I just don't like to trade things to the long side when it's trading below that 200 moving average on both the daily and hourly chart, right? You want to find yourself strength. That's why I was looking at rows when it was exhibiting strength. But right now, this guy's also struggling too because it starts to trade below that 200 on the hourly chart. On the daily chart, still looks great. But you guys got to be looking at this and be like, listen, it'll save you a lot of time and money if you just look at this chart. Look at this chart. Do I want to long this chart? Okay, comparing rows versus Bitcoin. Which is a better chart to go long? Do I want to go long with a chart with a nice series of higher highs and higher lows above that 200 moving average? Or I'm going to struggle against all these 200 moving averages on my way back up? Which is a better chart to trade, right? You have to look at it and be like, you know what? I want to kind of go where the trend is still strong. I don't want to struggle with a whole bunch of moving averages along the way. And this is how I look at charts, right? Dogecoin. Doge, I'm not, let's take a quick look. I'm not in Doge myself, but we'll take a look at the chart. Now, when you talk about teaming up with Tesla and my views on it, that would be dealing with technical analysis. And I mean, that would be a more fundamental side, which I don't deal with much at all. Okay, so other people, they have their own, methodologies, but we're just going to look at the chart right here. There's just not a lot of strength coming in. Price is trading below that 200 moving average on the daily chart. There isn't a whole bunch of price action, and every single time try to get up, find some strength. It wasn't able to even tag that 200 moving average on the hourly chart, more selling off. So right here, not something that I would want to go long right off the bat, at all. You're dealing with a product that is 15 cents. If there is considerable strength, this is what we're looking for, okay? We want this chart to get up above this 200 moving average on the daily chart, pulls back against that 200, stays up above, gives me a trigger to go long if I find a 3 price relationship right there. In the history of this chart, price to get up above temporarily, but this is on the daily chart. On the daily chart, it got up there 2 days and then starts to sell off again, and now we are below that 200 moving average. And until Dogecoin starts to exhibit this behavior, because this product is still trading below $1, right? So you can position size in very, very gracefully. And if it starts to exhibit that price behavior, gives me a 3 price relationship, gives me a trigger on the 15-minute time frame, then I'll be very comfortable going along with Doge. Good question. But I'm not going to deal with the fundamental side. Where is everybody coming in from? Put it in the chat. While we're on Tesla, all right, what do we got with Tesla? Man, I had a beautiful entry. Go back on my history. Go back on my history. You're from Romania. Oh my goodness. Gangster. Which part of Romania? I haven't been there, but I've been watching a lot of this YouTube channel. They're in Romania and really taught me a lot. Really taught me a lot. Okay. Any coin that we can go long. All right. Right now, I just don't have any I just don't see it right now, okay? And you guys got to be okay with that. There are a lot of times where you're just in this funk. You can't go long, on a setup that's going to be absolute shit, and you're going to kick yourself in the foot because there is no setup, there's no three-price relationship. So Romania, are you watching Andrew Tate? I want to know. Tate Speech, Tate Confidential. They're out in Romania. AVAX, I was looking at this, I was hoping that it would hold. It was not holding. So right now there's nothing to do on this chart at all, right? Because it starts to break through my planned 𝗪𝗔𝗔 support. And we have to look at these things objectively. Over here, price trading below that 200 moving average on the hourly chart. Yeah, so this is a lot of these charts, man, they're just not doing what we wanted to like to do. But you can't blame the chart, right? There's nothing wrong with the chart. It's just demand, or there's going to be supply, right? There's going to be demand buying this thing up, or people selling it off. They're just emotionless. It's just numbers on the chart. And we're just trying to find some patterns on this chart that potentially repeat itself. I also took a look at 𝗦𝗽𝘗𝗃. So 𝗦𝗽𝗃 is also breaking down. So over here we got more lower lows. Yeah, not good. But what we can do, we're going to look for the next set of potential pullbacks, right? So you may use a piece right here, projected. So anyway, I've been talking for a very long time. You guys have any questions for me? I'm going to X out. But thanks for jumping on. I'd like to do this more often. Work on my public speaking skills. But also interacting with the audience. I don't do that often enough. It's important for me to do that. Any US equities? Otherwise, I'm going to be out. Dang, you see all these selling offs. Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Andrew Tate. Yeah, really learned a lot from him. And it kind of motivated me and also inspired me to focus more on my YouTube channel because it's that consistency, right? And I think I've also made a video explaining his online university, and we had to become a different version of ourselves if we want to have that growth. So what kind of design business do you do, if you don't mind me asking? This is another way. Hey, listen guys, if you guys are looking for design work to be done, maybe this 𝗪𝗪𝗍. All right, looking at these charts, right? So over here, I also had Adobe to the short side a couple days ago. I've talked about this, and I think I was late. Damn, but it's all right. But that's how you know, sometimes when you do this analysis, it starts to make sense. So Adobe, here we go. Where do I talk about this? On the 14th. I think that was a little bit late to the party, but that's all right. So on the 14th, it was over here. So you should have had your short entry already. But I still think, because this one hasn't really traded that so much further down, you still can find a nice short trade if you just position the size correctly, right? So right here, as long as you set your stop above this cluster, I still think that Adobe is a nice short setup. Because yesterday, we had a short entry, right? 8 moving average crossing against F34 to the downside. What's a good price to short BTC? Right now, I don't have that 3-price relationship. Let's just take a quick look. What do we discuss? All right, so I have a 2-price relationship, you got to go back and do your homework and find a third. I'm looking at this area, 42,000, 43,000. But this area must hold, right, to the short side. And that 200 moving average on the hourly chart coincides. But as I said, this is not a complete setup. This is a two price relationship, so you got to do a little bit more work. The more price relationships you have with a particular zone of resistance or support, the better. Okay, because we're playing probabilities and we're looking at past behavior that may repeat themselves over and over. So right here, I have a two price relationship. I have a 200 moving average on the hourly chart. Price may retrace right back into this area, and from here, if you have a three price, if you get that trigger on the 15-minute time frame to short, then you short, with a proper position sizing. Good question. But right here, I haven't done enough work for a third price relationship. I want to just go through some other stocks. You can see a lot of weakness, guys. There's weakness coming through in this market. Netflix, here we have. Where's it trading? Below that 200 moving average. All right, Align Technology. This one deals with teeth, but even this one is trading below. Costco staying nicely above, but I guarantee you on the hourly chart, trading below. Right, so opportunities, I think right now I'm looking at this chart, it's to the short side. So with something like Netflix, I'm liking to see, or I'm going to find some strength. I like to find some strength back to the upside. Maybe a piece like this. Clicking from that pivot low, pivot high, we're projecting. Okay, that brings me way to the upside. I don't like that. Pivot low, pivot high, pivot low, something like this. That's what I'm talking about, guys. Okay, so this move right here, close to $60. Okay, I want you guys to understand how I look at charts. Price is trading below that 200 moving average on the daily chart. What I'm looking for is potential shorting opportunity, but I'm not gonna just short flippantly. I'm not gonna short just because I feel like shorting. I like to short if I have a planned setup. So that's the first price relationship. That's also matching up with that 200 moving average on the daily chart, right? Now I'm gonna do a Fib pull. When I do a Fib pull, I also have a 50% retracement right against that area. So that's my second price relationship. Going to do another Fib pull again. Over here, don't really have anything. So I got to go back on the history of this chart to find that potential third price relationship. So let me take a quick look at this pull. Pivot low, pivot high, pivot low. That could work right here. So price move from that pivot low to pivot high, start to sell off. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for price patterns that repeat themselves over and over on the chart. So Netflix, if you're looking to short Netflix, over here, what do we have? This is earnings, right? So after earnings, your premiums for your put options are going to be cheaper. So right here, I'm looking for a couple of things. I want price to retrace back up to here. I need to find some strength back in tech, back in the Nasdaq. And from here, I'm looking for more downside correction. So until this behavior starts to exhibit itself, nothing for me to do on this chart. Okay, so go back on my Ethereum videos, my last two videos on my channel. One that I made yesterday in the evening. I live over here in Taiwan. Okay, so this is where I'm living at. But I look at US equities, I also look at cryptocurrencies. And taking a quick look over here on the hourly chart, what else do we have? This is beautiful. You know why it's beautiful? On the hourly chart, I got that 200 moving average kind of just coasting along the way. So I'm really liking to see if this area resistance pocket of potential resistance can hold. Okay, it's just like the other chart, Adobe, right? That's what I'm looking for. This pocket of resistance to hold for more downside correction. If I'm wrong, who cares? Move on to another chart. Take your stop loss. Netflix. What I'm looking for, I need a little bit more strength coming up with here around 560. From here, I'm getting a trigger on the 15-minute time frame. As trend followers, we're looking to see. I have an idea for this for a short, but it must start to exhibit this behavior where price is actually taking this potential area resistance seriously by selling off. If price, for whatever reason, doesn't respect it, right, goes out of pocket on me, that means, hey, there's nothing for me to do on this chart if that happens. So your graphic design, branding, esports, logos, and now I'm planning to do NFT illustrations niche. Future skills I want to learn is copywriting, social media marketing. That's amazing. I love it. I love it. Listen, I'm learning a lot. There's so much I have to learn. You know, we're constantly learning. I'm also learning. You guys can see that. I'm putting in the work on my YouTube channel. Okay, and I'm learning a lot from Andrew Tate. You know, one thing that I'm learning from him is, number one, you got to have speed, right? You got to be executing very, very quickly. You're putting your attention and time into content creation. Next, business is money in, right? So I'm focused on selling my courses, my Gumroad course, but also getting up my channel to 1,000 subs or more, right? To collect that advertising fees for monetization for YouTube, in addition to affiliate links, different things like that. The next thing that's also important is attention is money. You guys are paying attention to me. Attention is very important. I'm also learning about NFTs. I don't understand it. I really don't. But no bullshit. I picked up my first NFT very recently. I'll show it to you guys. Open seas. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Just to show you that I'm not bullshitting about Andrew Tate, because I did purchase my very first NFT. Here we go. Are you guys seeing this? So, do I know what I'm doing? I don't know, but I'm studying these other guys, seeing what they're doing. Okay, so this guy, he's creating these pictures. You know, they're from photographs, but he's somehow creating NFTs with them and selling them. I'm not sure how well, but he's actually putting in the work, you know. But he is seeing that, okay, there's a market in this. I got to get people watching, paying attention to this. This is a growing niche of internet entrepreneurs. You know, they have their own businesses. They're putting themselves out there. So speed, right? Putting out there with speed. What else do they have? Right? They're focused in on income, selling these NFTs, and also attention is money, right? A lot of these lessons I'm relearning, you know. There's so much to learn. I'm also learning. So I'm with you bottom. These are dividends, all right? So every single quarter, they're paying me dividends for every share, every quarter, just like this, on the clock, 17 cents, 17 cents, 17 cents. Okay, let's just say it's 18 cents. 18 cents doesn't seem like a lot. 18 cents times by 4, so 72 cents, right? 72 cents per year just for holding stock. On a stock that is $17, 72 cents divided by, so $0.72, $17 stock. So it's about 4% for doing nothing. In addition, you can sell calls. So there's something you guys want to learn is that you can sell calls against your positions. So over here, you have your calls, you have your puts, but now you can also collect premiums on selling call options against your stock position. That's something that you can do with your stock portfolio. And then over here, this is something you guys can look into as well, because options are coming into the crypto space as well. Right now, I think on this platform, you can buy and sell call and put options with Bitcoin, Ethereum. So over here, options. So over here, there's something that we can start to learn, right? Because this is a pretty new market in this space. right? So Ethereum, now you can also sell calls and puts. This is another way for you to collect income on Ethereum that you already hold. So you sell the call option, you're holding it, so that you can't collect, you can't stake it, right? So that's locked, but you're selling call options against that position. I'm not sure of that. What is better for day trading, crypto or Forex? Okay, so it doesn't really matter because there's a lot of money in Bitcoin. I mean, there's a lot of money in cryptocurrencies, there's a lot of money in Forex as well, right? Forex is a huge, huge market. And the different sizes that you can trade with Forex as well to protect yourself so you don't, lose a whole bunch of money. So you got to just trade within your lane, with your own trading account size as you're comfortable with. And at the end of the day, you still have to look at it with a very objective set of lens. Do I have a trading plan? Am I clear about my trading plan? Okay, can I commit to that trading plan, right? Do I have composure along the way? That's the most important thing. Doesn't matter which market we talk about. We can talk about US markets, we can talk about cryptocurrencies, we can talk about Forex, but the way that we approach it must be the same every single time. The way how I identify that potential setup with Netflix wasn't any different how I looked at cryptocurrencies, right? You guys know how I look at these charts. I'm very, very consistent. The way how I describe them, try to articulate it the best of my abilities, and looking for that three-price relationship. If I'm looking for longs, I'm looking for pockets of support using that 𝗪𝗎𝗄𝗃 support, Fibonacci retracements. Over here, I'm looking for a short opportunity, looking for symmetry resistance, and also Fibonacci retracements that matches up with that cluster of symmetry resistance in conjunction with some 200 moving averages on the daily chart as well as the hourly chart. Now, does it always play out the way that I wanted to? It doesn't. It played out beautifully with Ethereum, a couple hours ago. But I have a plan set up. If it doesn't start to exhibit the price behavior that I wanted to, then that's the framework that how I look at everything, guys. So it doesn't matter if you're looking at Forex, crypto, US equities, approach it the same way. Filter these charts the same way. If you look at my charts, I don't have a lot of colors on them, and that is very intentional, right? I don't want to see a whole bunch of greens and yellows and reds because that really clouds my confusion. I have to look at the chart and be like, where is price currently trading at now in relation to that 200 moving average? Over here, this is a lower low than, not yet. But the last couple of sessions for a couple of months now, it's been established a series of lower highs and lower lows, right? So if you want to study charts, you want to go back in the history of this chart and look at how did it form the last cycle. Over here, this behavior is very similar, right? So price traded below that 200 moving average. This is back in 2018. Retraced back up, wasn't able to get up above this 200 moving average, continues to sell off. But what I'm interested in is this pullback right here. How does it measure to this pullback over here? We're in the 𝗪𝗏. This is badass because I can be very exact over here. Pullback right here, $64.19. Pullback right here, $60.84. Can you see that there's only a couple dollars apart? I can start to do back testing with this guy and be like, am I going to look at these patterns and look at how beautifully it matches up with that 200 moving average on the daily, right? So that would be the first price relationship. Over here, kind of flying another pullback. That's also very similar. Oh my goodness, that's another pullback from that pivot low to pivot high before it started selling off. And these two pullbacks are very, very similar. This one is $65.88. This one's $64.19. Now, in addition, can I do a Fib retracement that also matches up? Can't really find anything to match over here. But you guys can see what I'm doing now, this is methodical. This is not random, okay? And over here, I'm looking for a 3-price relationship. And from here, I trigger to go short to the downside. So can patterns repeat itself over here? Identify price trading below. Now I'm looking for some retracements back to the upside to take advantage of that 200 moving average on the daily as well as the hourly. So that's how I approach charts. So great question. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what you trade. Guys, do you have a trading plan? Are you clear on your trading plan? You're not just buying because you saw a headline. You're not buying because you saw another expert or myself, okay? You got to formulate your own trading plan that you're comfortable with, that you can go day in and day out. And you got to have the correct position sizing in. So whatever happens, you're detached from the outcome of the trade. You're not stressed out about, am I going to be paying my rent if I don't make this thing through, okay? Following through, being a consistently profitable trader is being about consistently, very, very consistent with your process. If you're consistent with your process, right, you're going to get those end results. Just like, you know what, I want to be in shape, you know, I want to exercise, but for me to do that, I'm going to have to go out and do a whole bunch of shit I don't want to do, like getting out, putting my shoes on, going off for that run. These are all things that I do 6 days a week, y'all, okay? Because I'm consistent in doing that, I have the results that I want, okay? I don't try to say I want to lose a whole bunch of weight right off the bat. If I do these small building blocks every single day consistently, the result is I'm going to get those results that I want to shoot for, you know, with my own personal health. And that's how we should look at our health, okay? So let's also talk about a little bit of marketing side. So I don't know if you guys following me on my other socials. So I got a little bit of an Instagram game going. You know, I had another Instagram, but I lost it. I got banned, so fuck that. It's all right. What else do we have? We have Twitter over here. So I also post on here, okay? I don't post a lot. I try to post my other trades and stuff. Also on here, this is my other account. You guys can follow me here. But most of the work will be on my YouTube channel, you know. So if you guys haven't picked up my course, go pick it up, because I'm gonna up my price. I don't care. So that's what I'm gonna do. All right, looking at my comments, what do we got here? So when you guys see these comments and stuff, this is all scam. Just ignore them completely, because there's a lot of that. All right, so that's all I have for today. Thank you guys for watching. Really appreciate you guys, and have an amazing rest of your week, and I'll talk to you soon.